So I just watched a video from Patrick Bet-David, which is about 24 ways to build culture, and I thought while I took some notes, that a good way to really etch it in my memory would be to reread those notes and talk a little bit about what we could do to sort of build that kind of culture. So the first one he talks about is encouraging feedback, and why that's important is because while feedback is something that's ingrained in our culture, what it really does is pushing the bar to improve. How do I get better at doing this? How do I get better for myself? What do you think I can do to do this process slightly better? How do we structure the current initiative that we're doing slightly better so it reaches a wider audience? So that culture of really pushing the boundary and always striving to improve on yourself, on your processes, on anything that happens is one of a high performing culture and a team. So that's the first one. Encourage feedback. The second one is a little lightweight because when you have a high performing culture, like most of us would like to have, something that we miss out on is the fun element. And he talks about doing these elaborate pranks, and that has been a very big part of ThoughtWorks for a very long time. We need to revive it. I'm all for it, so we'll see what we can come up there. The next one is stirring competition. And now this one is interesting because what competition does is it brings the best out of people. Now it's not about combat. It's about competition in a way that really uh, helps helps the cause to um, better themselves in whatever form, whether it's team competitions, individual competitions. It just brings out the competitive spirit. People go the extra mile to sort of push their boundaries, which they wouldn't do usually. So competition is healthy. Uh, you want a place that is lightweight. You want a place where people are having a fun time. You need to find ways to bring in humor in whatever you do in your teams. Times get tough, but if you're having a good time working with some great people, you stick through it. A culture where, in his particular case, there was a lot of music playing around, people enjoyed it. Music, like you would imagine in any movie, music is such a big part of what stirs emotion. And what they used to do in some of their events is, give a drum roll for somebody when they're introduced, get them going, pump that spirit up. And that's, I think, what he meant by music. Number six is get the right people. Now, this, I don't think any of us will have any contention in saying that once bad, spoiled apple can spoil the entire lot. And this is certainly true for company cultures because if you have someone, especially in a leadership role, that isn't aligned with how the rest of the organization work, his team or her team is going to be impacted by that person's personality. It just bubbles down whether you want it or not. And one person can have that impact on a wider group of people and hence your company. So be very mindful of who you hire. Ensure that if you make mistakes or if you sense that somebody is not fitting in, you make corrections. And you will have people come in the system who tend to leave, and that's okay because they'll figure it out for themselves that this is not a place for them. So don't bother too much at times with who's coming in and who's coming out of your company. The right people will stay on, and if the wrong people get in, uh, it's sometimes useful to intervene and set that right. Uh, the seventh one is really adding your own personality to the company. Give it some quirky bits. Get some life instilled into what you're doing. Dress up once in a while, maybe. Decorate your workplace. Give it a sense of uniqueness, a sense of home, a collective sense of home, I would say. Another interesting one was the initiation process and how do you just keep things light when somebody's joining your team or somebody's joining your organization or somebody gets a promotion. How do you get them to be initiated and in a lightweight, humorous fashion? He talks about one where people get into this room to celebrate someone's promotion and turn off the lights and then just start walking towards him, screaming as if they're going to bash him up. And then they switch the light on to see the person either in this defensive mode or in this mode ready to push and 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 and, and fist uh, and whack someone off. So that just tells you a lot about people, and it's a memory that people will have for a long time. But don't overdo this one because well, lawsuits. Uh, just building on the competition, see in the culture, you can have monthly contests on different things, and it could be physical contests like push-ups, or team competitions, or just different ways to sort of engage a group of people who maybe otherwise don't work with each other directly, but through these competitions they get together, and there's a sense of people supporting them, or them pushing themselves beyond, and it just provides another forum for them to get to know more people. um, Investing in people. Now, this is probably why people tend to stay in companies, because if they believe that they have opportunities and the company is genuinely vested in their growth. Now, the biggest loss to a company is when it cannot retain talent because they haven't invested in them, in their potential, in setting them up right for big opportunities that lie within. In companies such as ours, which are very high performing, we need to set the bar really high. We need to push people to take on what they're capable of. And if we don't, if we let them to be stagnant, we are to blame. So it's important to really invest in people, take that time, figure out how can you grow people actively through different kinds of assignments, stretch roles, breadth of responsibilities, maybe even switching things around, but invest in your people. Go out of the way to see who could use a course in a recruitment course, for example, or an accounting course, whatever their roles may be. Push them to sort of learn new things, and the returns will show itself. Another one that they do is a book club together. Every month they get together and read a book, and people share their insights about it. I think it's a nice collective way to sort of uh, to ensure that people are learning constantly, and I think it drives that kind of culture. Um, then incentivize certain behavior. So if you do this, then you get that. So give a little nudges here and there to sort of push to causes that align potentially with where you see the company going, with how you want people to grow. So incentivize with small nudges. It doesn't have to be big things. The other one is celebrating birthdays. Now this might seem like a small one, but I think has a big impact, because you're giving people a sense that, hey, it's not just the work that you're here for, but we care about you as an individual. We care that it was your birthday this month, and we're going to celebrate it. Try to do something weird and awkward if possible. Give them a good time. Make them really feel at home. Um, Now, what surprised me is PHP Agency actually had a system where they really doubled down on cards. They bought around 30,000 cards last year, which is amazing to me, because I think having a physical card, if I got a card, received a card from someone which had a note on it about an accomplishment, a personal anniversary, a birthday, whatever, with a company logo, it makes me feel that this company cares about me, this company knows me, and this company, uh, yeah, is family. So I think cards, something that's so cheap, and can be done so easily, is is could go such a long way to build this culture where people feel that you know this is home. Um, The next one is about emotion and well-being. So ensure that you have a sense of how people are doing in your company, and if you notice someone's down, have that conversation with them. Figure out what their goals are, what's coming in the way, what support would they need right now. How do you help them through a rough patch? Because all of us go through rough patches. We just need to be there for each other, to be our pillars in moments when we're low, and that's what teams do, that's what family does, right? So that's what we ought to do in our roles, to really keep one another going, and that's what we do in teams, right? So if when you work individually, you have your moments of ups and lows, but in a team, people pump you up. You see, even if you're a bit low, uh, the others around you just get you going, uh, make you feel comfortable, and that's what keeps us the great place that we are, I guess, because we work so well in teams. um, Diversity goes without saying. Diversity of perspective, diversity of gender, sexual orientation, all of it, cognitive diversity, all of it just helps in really uh, getting the best ideas, getting different ideas out there, encouraging some sort of debates and conflict. Conflict is good because you weigh options, and when you have options, you make choices based on the weight of why you're making those choices, and then you get more convinced about why you're doing something a certain way. So choices are always good, and diversity brings that. Surprise your team. Find ways. This one really stuck to me because I feel uh, from an operation standpoint, there's opportunities to really go out there and do something interesting for teams, and make it a little fun for them. Make them know that we care, and we know we care for them as individuals, and I think it just when it's unexpected, of course, those memories uh, become stories that get told for a long time, and that really sink in, and in a place that is is rooted in experiences that one wasn't expected. So yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Um, and this one is important in terms of really getting to know your people and being approachable. So you may not have the time to interact with everyone, but make yourself approachable, make yourself be humble as a leader. Really take the time to have a conversation with people when you can. There was another rule that I saw in one of the very famous TED talks, which talked about if you spend X amount of time today with your clients, your customers, triple that. Find a way to triple that. Find a way to optimize and get out of things that might not be as strategic, because we all know how our days go, and the kinds of meetings that get lined up where you're not really required. If you weren't there in those meetings, they would still function without you. So find those meetings, get out of them, spend more time with your customers. Now, the next one is about turning your folks into heroes. So while you want to raise the bar collectively in terms of the great work that people are doing, you also want to recognize and find those individuals who've stepped up, who've gone beyond, and it's really important to do that because they need to know. And these are the people who sometimes are putting 2x of the effort, 2x of the uh, 2x of of their lives into your company, into what they do, because they love it, and you need to find ways to help them know that you recognize that and you appreciate that. Um, so 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 make sure that you also find ways to turn your folks into heroes. Allow for crazy ideas to happen. Now, this one is interesting. It stems from trying to build a quirky culture where people feel free, people can be themselves, people bring the best out of each other. It ties back to the pranks that potentially we were talking earlier, but also things like, as a collective, what we can do. They made a Guinness World Record, for instance. They dress up and have these fancy parties on Fridays. Really let crazy ideas emerge and run with it. Um, yeah, that really makes a place unique, and people feel like any idea is welcome, um, and of course moderated. But yeah, let people flow with their ideas. The other one about a high performing culture is really accountability and being able to call out when something isn't done, regardless of what roles you play. So everyone should feel empowered to call out people at any level, because we expect more and we strive. We come from this place where we acknowledge that everyone has a lot of difficulties, but being able to call out and hold people accountable is crucial as a part of your culture. If that bit uh, isn't rooted in people's minds that they can do that and they should be able to do that for all across all roles, you need to find a way to change that. because if they don't do that at their teams, at peer, at the org level, at different functions that they need to interact with as a business, you aren't going to have a high performing team. So ensure that you find a way to hold people accountable, be accountable for the actions that you are responsible for, and create that culture where it's okay to do it. It goes hand in hand with the next one, which is setting the bar really high, high standards, craftsmanships. We're striving for excellence. We want to push the bar. We believe in thought leadership. All of us do. We want to do something that impacts not just that's not just limited to the purview of what we're doing on our day-to-day jobs, but also impact the wider community. And that can only happen if you have really extremely high standards. Um, um, then the other one that he mentions was about gifts to different people, customized gifts. If someone's getting a parent, send them a funny book about rookie parenting 101, things like that, just to sort of increase the the connect with people. And it's such an easy one. Um, it just takes some effort to figure out what's going on in people's lives sometimes and to be on top of it. But when you can surprise people with gifts, surprise people with cards, um, create that fun working place, because at the end of the day, people do spend sometimes more time at work than with their families. So really create a workplace where you have people motivated coming to work, feel like they're having a fun time, doing some awesome work. They feel on top. They feel like they're really contributing back to a wider cause, and that's a place that you want to be at. Um, and Like Richard Branson says, teach all your employees all your secrets, right? So that tomorrow, if they wanted to go and start a competitive business, they can do it. But then treat them so well that they don't want to leave. And I leave you with that.